What's up, folks? I'm your host, Mike Pugh of the FPC Virtual Channel, and I just wanted to talk today. Let's just talk. I have a good discussion, and I want to reach deep inward and try to get it out of me, because there's been things that's been going on the planet, on the globe, that has been bothering me to some degree, and it has to do with one key word, one simple key word, and that has to do with slavery. So I bring up this single key word, which you can type onto Google if you want to, and try to find out everything connected to that term, that terminology, slavery. We can be enslaved to many things in this life, and it can start with being enslaved to what we are addicted to, because a great many people are addicted to certain things. It can be a drug. You can be addicted to a drug. You can be addicted to a habit, certain habits that you have that you keep repeating over and over again, whether it's something positive or negative, that can actually either hinder your experience in life or better your experience in life. So I would like to talk about these types of things because it's really something that makes me inwardly really think about life in a really deep way. And when I say deep, I mean trying to look back to the core of what created these things when it first started. Where did it come from? In terms of referencing humanity, because humanity is the people, the beings on the planet that tend to be affected the most by when a person loves someone, when a person has affection for someone, and when a person falls out of love for someone, and when a person lacks affection and they lead their life in a more downtrodden way, and they become more negative about life, or they tend to lash out at people, throwing signs of hate, throwing signs of um, intolerance when they feel like something is not favorable to them and they can't tolerate a certain thing. They're going to either yell, scream, cry. They're going to be affected in some sort of a metaphysical way, in a mental and a physical way. Or some people will probably try to do harm to another person. So I definitely wanted to bring this subject up because majority of what people don't realize is that slavery started a long time ago, and it started inside a person's heart. It started from a person, I believe, who was very, very low life energy source. They had no very, very low source of energy. They 9 times out of 10 didn't want to do work themselves. They didn't want to go and get the milk from the cow. They didn't want to go and plant the seeds in the farm to harvest the crops. Or, it got to a point where they got so much abundance of stuff they wanted to get greedy, and they couldn't move all the stuff around themselves. So they figured, why not I get to force other people to do my bidding, so that way I can multiply myself and have more hands and more brains, more eyes on everything that I own. You know what I'm saying? Because one individual cannot really manage that much ownership of land, of things in general that God has placed onto the planet. Not one individual should ever be super rich like a billionaire today when it comes to being able to handle all of that riches. Like, not one single person can actually handle all of it unless they have an army of people who are doing things for them. So you got to look at it in that frame of reference, because that's the ideology behind slavery. It comes and stems from a core initiative that connects to the heart, to a low level energy in the heart. And that's what I thought about. Now, another thing when it comes to another key word that I think about is hatred. Where does hatred stem from? Where does it get its more of the developmental factors of hatred. Like, who actually thought about hating someone else and thought about using it as a weapon against another group of people? You know, so you got to go way back into history. And I apologize, I need some water because my throat is kind of dry, but I'm gonna still keep going because it's coming from the core inside of my heart. I want to put this out there. When you think about humanity, you think about all the way back in the past. Where do you think hatred actually had its origins from? Where did it begin? Did it begin on an island? Did it begin in a town? Did it begin, in the hospital when a baby was born? Did it begin out in the wilderness where animals were attacking humans, or humans were attacking animals, or humans were attacking humans? Where do you think hatred has its roots and its stem from? And of course, there's going to be a lot of biblical information about this. There's going to be a lot of spiritualists who will talk about the negative levels and the core low life energies of hatred and where it actually has its roots and stems from. But if you take it way back to prehistoric times, and you try to go back to the parts where humans didn't exist, and you go all the way back to dinosaurs and things like that, and you just try to sum up what you can think is the best, how would you say, analogous way of seeing it. I think it stems from a desire and a need or a want, and it also it derives from intent. So you got to think about the intent of what animal, creature, whether it's a human being or it's some other type of Homo sapien. It could be any kind of being on a planet that has this form and level of energy, low level energy. Hatred is just a terminology, but actually it's a targeting. So your intent is to target another being because of that being maybe not having something similar to you, maybe looking different from you, maybe appearing to be smaller than you rather than larger than you, or larger than you rather than smaller than you. Something that you can differentiate between yourself and that other being, and you see it, and you can basically isolate. It's almost like fault isolating to identify that that being is very different from you. So without that targeting mechanism, without your ability to reference those particular differences within another person, whether it's a physical difference, a mental difference, a spiritual difference, so many differing ways for you to see it. When you sense a difference, the intent behind your targeting is what generates hatred, and that's what I believe. So where does that begin? That also begins in our senses. So where we start our senses. We start our senses first with our eyes mainly. We use our nose. We can smell. Are you going to hate something that you smell? Excuse me. Are you going to hate something that you smell? 9 times out of 10, you can hate something that you smell. Are you going to hate something that you see? 9 times out of 10, you will most definitely develop a form of hatred towards something that you prefer not to see. Is that form of hatred targeted to delete that particular thing, that being, that person? Sometimes there's people who exist that actually have that form of hatred. They have that level of hatred. It's so, how would you say, so massive of a level of negative energy that they want to delete that either group of people or that individual that they targeted. So it's something of a derivation from your intent, mainly. That's what I believe. And when you go back to, like I said, prehistoric times, you go all the way back to the dinosaurs, and you go back before creatures were put on the planet. What really was hate? What was hate? Was it asteroids and meteorites hitting each other, targeted, but not really having a specific aim? They just randomly clash and they collide. Would it be a black hole sucking an actual star out of its orbit? Is that a negative form of energy, low life energy? Did hatred derive from there? Did hatred derive from the creator itself? Whatever created us, you can call the creator anything you want, and you can give a title to the creator, right? Some people call the creator God, some people say Allah, some people say Yahweh, some people say Jesus. Everybody has different ways of interpreting what they believe their creator is. But we do know, and we can acknowledge, we can all acknowledge that hatred is the same no matter what belief system you have. Love is the same no matter what belief system you have. There's universal things that are identifiably the same. You know, all creatures have these differing levels of energy. And where does it actually lie at? Where does it exist? And you have to look at the intent. Some species are trying to survive, right? Some species are trying to thrive. And some species are pretty much, they coexist with everything around them. They're part of the environment. So they're here for other things to survive as well. So it's a communal thing. It becomes a community. You're not just here to outlive everything else. You're not just here just to survive only for yourself, but you also are here for others. You know, and we have to think about that as human beings. We got to look deeply inwardly into these differing realities and also universalities, because there's a universe that we deal with as well that's way beyond us. And whatever created the universe created us. So we all have to think about these things, and it's really important. Look deepwardly, inwardly into your heart and within your spirit. That's what I recommend for you to do. That's what I've been trying to do from when I first was a kid, when I first started as a baby as well. Looking into the life force and the field of energy that's outside of us and trying to figure out, why am I here? What is my purpose? How am I connected to other people? And why have I been born in a planet filled with so many beautiful things, and also so many things that may appear to be ugly or may appear to be unfavorable to my eyes, to my senses, to my smell, to my touch? You know, can I hate something that I can sense with my touch? Yes, obviously, I hate anything that can, you know, get rid of me, like weapons. I hate weapons, so I choose not to have weapons in my life because I don't want to end my life or end someone else's life. And that's my choice. You know, everyone has their own choice. It's to each his own. I'm not telling you or saying that you should look at things the way I do, but me personally, when I was a kid, when I was a child, when I was a baby, I used to try to figure out these things. When I first played with fire and I got burnt, that's what I discovered, that fire is something that I hate because it burns me. You know what I'm saying? So it's something very basic, very simple that we really should think about. And I believe if we go to the core of these realities, we can actually factor out things for ourselves and then try to inspire or encourage others to try to factor it out for themselves as well. And I think if you don't have this kind of discussion with other people, we'll never, ever, ever get to figure out a way to get rid of a lot of these things that are bombarding us, which is hatred, which is a lot of negativity, racism, classism, socialism, a lot of the isms that are used as weapons to hold people back so other people can climb up the ladder and only they can achieve success, only they can rise to the top. The only way for us to knock those things down in totality, to basically put them out of existence, is for us to talk about it and to come up with these lively discussions and get really down to the hardcore truth of where these things come from and how to unearth them, how to put them back under the earth where they belong, because a lot of this stuff belongs deep below the earth. And I'm talking about the negativity. Why I smile about it is because love is the only way to solve a lot of those problems. But if you don't understand the history behind it, if you don't go all the way back into your history, into the core of where a lot of these things come from, then you'll never solve your own equations, your own problems in your own life, because you don't know where the stem and the connections and the roots to it all lies. So in every single life, every single individual, I believe we all come from a different source of connection, of family, of base, of heritage, of differing information that stems back to where we began as a people on a planet. So you also have to do that kind of research to find out where your people are from. You know what I'm saying? So if you was born in Zimbabwe, maybe your ancestors were born in Zimbabwe. Maybe your ancestors were born in, I don't know, the Antarctic, and you is part Eskimo. Even though they don't live in the Antarctic, they probably live in Alaska and other places that are very, very cold. You have to go back to your heritage, dig for the information, and try to uncover the truth versus the false. Because there's false truths as well, which are something that was documented by a group of people who probably overthrew your family, generation by generation, and they overthrown your people and probably put a lot of lies out there and a lot of untruths, so that way you can accept the assimilation process and become part of their society by force. But the reality is you don't have to accept that, and you can go further past that and find out the truth from people who actually wrote the story the way it was supposed to be told. So these are the things that I discovered by researching and trying to find out my roots and my history. And it's up to you. It's only you that will find the answers. It's only you that will find the truth. Only you can find that for yourself. You can get a lot of sources. You can get people to help you, to encourage you, to give you information to try to find it. You can be, how would you say, encouraged. You can be inspired. You can find a lot of resources, but it takes you to get into that game. So other than that, I'm out of here. Joy, love, and peace to all. Thanks a lot for joining my discussion. Slavery is no joke. It all stems from those things that I talked about and the lack of you knowing who you are, because no chains can hold you down, even if it's physically holding you down, if your spirit is free, because your spirit is beyond this physical realm. And that's something that I know and I discovered. It took me a long time to figure it out. But once you start to figure it out, you will glow with an amazing, amazing halo, and it will wipe out all of the negative things that are around you. Even if a physical negative is happening in your physical appearance, in your physical person, in your physical realm, if it's happening where you actually reside at, you can wipe all those things out of your existence, because you realize that experience is not the truth. That is a lie. That is false. That is not something that is part of your life. So that's all I got. I'm out. Peace.